Hi and welcome back to my workshop. I'm Tony and I'm still building this tank, which is the M26 Pershing tank, again from Armortek, and it's another 1:6 scale full metal kit. When we last left off, I'd finished all the wheels, all the rollers. I'd masked everything up ready for painting, and I was really pleased with myself, thinking, brilliant, I'm ready to paint. So, and then when the camera turned off, I went and I just started cleaning up the hull a bit more, and then I started working it and cleaning it, and I kept coming across this sort of the side edge of this hole. And if you remember rightly, when I did one of the bump stops, I had to cut away a small section because this isn't very flat against this piece of metal here. Now we'll move the camera closer so you can see. And it troubled me a little bit, thinking, is that going to cause me problems later down the line? Because it doesn't look like the other side. This is the left hand, this is the right hand side over there. That's still a little bit of it's still proud. The casting's proud of the flat face, but nowhere near as this. I mean, this is like possibly 2-3 mil in places, and there's some fixing holes through here, so it's obvious that something needs to be fixed onto it. Anyway, I didn't worry about it that evening. I sort of cleaned up, turned everything off, went back, and then in the morning I had a comment on my channel from one of the guys building the M26 tank. And he flagged up a problem that has been discussed, if you like, on the forum of Armortek. And it seems that it's a problem across this particular batch of tanks. And it's basically this. The thing I thought could be a problem, but wasn't quite sure at the time what kind of problem it's going to be. It turns out it is a problem. And all the various builders building this tank have come up with different ways of doing it. I've also come up with a solution. And I think in a moment I'm going to reset the camera and I'm going to show you in real time what the problem is and how I'm going to get around it. So I'll give me a minute, I'll set the camera up and we'll come back and have a look at this very simple fix. So the problem is this piece here, which is the main mud flap, which you don't get to until much later on in the instructions. This sits on the hull like so and fixes into the hull, and it's supposed to sit flush or tight against this flat surface here. It's even got a small dog leg out of here and a notch. Let me see if I can get that in the camera on the front here, so it can only sit roughly in one position, and that's pretty much there. I'll align the fixings in a moment. The problem is, because of this thickness here, you can't, there's a huge gap. I mean, say huge gap, it's about 4, possibly more millimeters away from that, so you're not going to get a fixing, and it's not right. So what we have to do is we have to cut away a section of this casting so that the piece underneath, which is this flange here, sits flat again, so it sits on this surface, and then, you know, on a flat surface that's cut through here. And then I think it's going to sit pretty well. Now, it's definitely going to be done on this side. I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be done on that side. And the only tool I can think of using to get this right would be my Dremel. And I've got some metal router bits that, let me bring that into the camera. Oh, I'm shocking at this. And these are things I've had in my toolbox. Again, very inexpensive tools. Used a few times, did a little bit of work on the Tiger using these, and I'm hoping that that's going to do the job and make a very small order of the job. So first things I'm going to do is I'm going to set this out so it's in the right position, and then mark it. So I'm going to roughly position that where it should be. Align the holes. I'm going to use this. Driver there just to hold that in position. So that's that. I can then see by eye that underneath on this flange, you know, you can't see it in the camera, but they now line up with the holes that are pre-tapped into the hull. So I'm going to use a clamp just to hold that into the position, so that's not over tightening the clamp, double checking that all these holes line up, and they do. So if I was to fix this now, it wouldn't be a problem. And then I'm just going to mark, using my Sharpie pen, a line through there underneath. And that gives me the area that I'm going to have to remove off the cast hole. Pop that away out of the way. And you can see there, it's an area possibly 10-12 millimeters. I'm going to come as tight as I can to the top line, and I'm going to be a little bit more generous on the bottom line. So in a moment I'm going to get the Dremel fired up, and we'll do some cutting, and what will probably happen is my son I'll do it in real time, but because of the noise, I'm sure he'll find some appropriate music to drown out the noise, and then we'll then come back once I've removed this, test fit it, and then take it from there. So that's it. So it took about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. So my son's going to speed this up because it took longer than I thought it was going to take. And I went through various different tools, well, attachments for my Dremel, but it came back to my trusted little cutting discs here, just very carefully, just cutting away, being very patient. No point trying to rush this and destroy it. And you know, the thing is, right, I'm so glad that I picked this up, or it was pointed out to me ahead of painting, because I would have been really upset if I'd have painted the hull, got a really nice finish on the hull, and then ended up having to do this to it. Now, you know, within reason, this is quite nice and neat. I'm quite pleased with that. And now I'm going to offer this up to see if she fits. So just a little clamp on that. And that's in there now, and you can probably see in the camera that that's actually sitting overlapping this, and that is fairly tight. I think what's probably happening is this bracket down here is pushing this off, but I can feel that is all sitting inside. I know you can't see it in the camera, but that's actually sitting inside. Please take my word for it. So that's it. I mean, that's what you've got to do, right? I'm going to have to do a similar thing to the other side, but probably not as much because it's not as deep as this. So a well worth doing exercise. And you know, if you bought an M26 and it's the current sort of batch, then you may end up having to do something like this again, with like I've just done. And as I said, you know, the best thing to do is a Dremel. Make sure you wear eye protection, and just take your time. There's no point rushing any of this. And actually, I know it seems frustrating, but it adds to the, you know, the sense of satisfaction when you do it and it comes out well. So a massive thanks to Ray and Brian and all the guys on the forum for pointing that out. I'm well chuffed that I managed to do it as neat as possible. So I'm going to go on and now do the other side.
A few moments later.
Right, well, that's both sides done. As I said, really pleased, caught that before I painted the hull. And now it's like really thinking ahead again and wondering whether is it time to paint, or shall we consider a few more other parts? And because I was concentrating on this, I did start looking at the instructions for the mudguards, and it started me thinking, how complicated is it going to be to install these with the wheels on and the rollers? And because it's not so much getting the mudguards on, and I mean, you've got these, this is the rear one, this is on the right hand side, this will be the left hand side, so it's a quite, you know, it is what it is. It's quite a piece of mild steel, been folded and welded, and that goes on the back. It's got a, it fixes to the back of this, a couple of fixings into the hull itself, and then pretty much free reined on the back, no fixings on the back. So imagine that on that, and then the front on the front, whichever one that is. Nope, it's the other one. And one that goes on there, then you've got the side panels, whole series of these side panels which are currently wrapped up, and they go along on the face of this, and there's fixings that you've got to get in behind and attach the nuts to and what have you. And again, if you've got the rollers in place, because imagine these rollers go there, maybe not so much the rollers, and you've got that there, I'm wondering whether, is there enough room to fix the nuts behind? But then you think about when the wheels go on, imagine this being a wheel, and it's slightly there, and you've got a roller, sort of roughly there, and you've got your wheel sort of roughly there or thereabouts, and then you've got the side. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be quite, it's going to be awkward. So I'm going to do more thinking on this, and the reason why I'm talking about it now is that because I'm thinking that once I've got the bottom of the hull painted, I want to be able to get the paint underneath this. So I may, when I'm painting everything else, actually paint the underside of these mudguards as well, so they're finished and I don't have to worry about that. And then obviously the top can be painted when we do the whole top of the tank. But that gets me thinking, do I now assemble these components, you know, as they're intended, if you like? Well, we'll work it out in a minute which way around it goes, but do I assemble these components, that's the other way around, sorry. Do I assemble these components like so, get these attached, so this is one thing, as long as there's not too much movement in it, and then when I'm painting I can actually hit and paint the whole of the underside of this mudguard on the inside, and then contemplate at what point I install it on the tank later on. So paint them and stash them away. So that's where I'm thinking. I'm now going to just take a small break, and I'm going to have a strong coffee because I'm working late in the garage tonight, because I want to move this on to a point where I can start painting it. And I'm going to come back in a moment with something else I want to do to the tank before I start the painting. So I'll see you real soon. Thank you. Right, so I'm going to have a go at doing some welding. I've just done a little bit and it came out okay. So just hope that now the camera's on, I don't mess this up. So I've just got the white superfine milliput. Now I've never actually used this before, so you know, if I make a mistake, please forgive me. But you have to mix this in equal amounts. I'm just going to use my Stanley. Now I've done a little bit and I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm just going to cut off enough, I think that's probably going to do us for the welding. So that's that half. I guess this one being the white, it's going to be difficult to know that I've got it fully mixed, but nonetheless we will persevere. And it's kind of strange because, you know, just before I had my little break there, I was just looking through the instruction book to see, right, am I close now to you know, getting this tank painted. You know, you do need to wear gloves for this because this stuff's a nightmare if you get it on your hands. So gloves on. So that's that. Now I'm just going to mix these together, just using my hands. tear it apart, put it back together, give it a good old mix. And then what I'll do, once this is all mixed up, I'll reposition the camera and I'll show you what I've done already. Look, considering I haven't done this before, so it's the first time, I'm quite pleased with it. I know you can't see it just yet, but I'm quite pleased with it. And you know, when it's all painted and when it's all set, it's all painted, I think it's going to look pretty good. I'm only going to do the back of the rear plate, because I think the sides, I'm not really sure how this is going to, you know, interact with the mud guards and things like that. And not only that, once everything is on, the wheels and all the rest of it, you're not really going to see much of the side of the hull. And if this goes well on the back, I'll certainly be doing this on parts of the top section of the tank. So I think that's pretty much mixed together now. And I think we're good to go. So I'll just leave that there for now. I'll just clean my gloves off, so I've got they're clean. What I'll do now is I'm just going to reset the camera and I'll show you what I've done previously. So this is what I've just done as it'd be like a test or a sample. Took the pin out for this the tow hook or the crane lift hook or whatever these are, and I've just gone around and then underneath. Now I've got this is now fully elevated on the motorcycle jack, so I'm almost in line, eyesight line if you like. So it makes it really easy to work on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the other one of these, and that basically what I did. Again, I haven't really. I should have probably gone onto YouTube and seen if there's any tutorials on YouTube. So I'm just rolling this out. I mean, again, you can't see this. I've got a piece of acrylic, which works quite well, I think, because it doesn't. It's not sticky. I'm just going to roll this out into what I think is the right thickness for this. And also what I did is, ahead of doing the weld around the tow hook, I filled in this because I don't think I'm going to need to get to the fixings, and I think that if I'm going to go to the trouble of putting weld around here, this needs to be flattened off. So I've flattened that off, ready for me to hopefully apply the weld. And I think with this stuff, if it gets a bit tricky to use, you can just apply a little bit of water and just makes life a little bit easier, so it's less tricky. So I'm just rolling this out. Again, you can't see this, but you will do very shortly. I'm going to roll out more than I need, and then apply it. I think we're almost there. And if you're experienced model welders, please don't judge me. So this is my little wrap, if you like, and I'm just going to pop that around this hook, and I'm going to take it underneath and bring that back up, and then I'm just going to cut that there, and then to put that back up, and that's it, crudely in place. Now I'm going to use this tool just to sort of mimic the welds in it. Now there's probably experienced builders out there looking at this right now going, well, yeah, that's not how I do it, but and if we've all got to learn, haven't we? And I'm learning, while I'm talking to you guys and doing this. And I think once it's all painted, I think it'll be fine. Just try and do it. Oops, I just kicked the camera. It's kind of therapeutic, actually. There's a bit of work on that, but you get the general idea. And paint does hide up a multitude of things, doesn't it? Let's just move that a little bit tighter to that. come underneath. I think that's coming out all right. Yeah. So that's that. I'm quite happy with that. So, you know, considering it's the first time I've ever done this, I'm quite pleased with the results of that. Thought it was going to be a little bit trickier than that. But anyway, that's that. I've got enough now to be able to do the other side. Same deal. Just position that so it follows around the profile. That's just about enough. Just trim that off. This stuff does have a lot of time before it's set, so if you make a mistake, I don't think it's going to be a major problem. And so I think a little bit of water on that. Yeah. Smaller one there. This is just a little bit awkward because of where it is. I've got this kit and the milliput on that, that big website that we mentioned before and that we all use. And it was actually quite inexpensive. And what I want to do with this Persian, I just want to make it, I want to take it a couple of notches up from what I did on the Tiger. Taking what I learnt on the Tiger and seeing if I can, develop other skills and apply different skills on this Persian tank. And I think that's a natural thing to want to do. And I'm really pleased with how this is going. It's probably going a bit too easy really, but anyway. So that's that, and I just tidied it up. It's quite a nice thing to work with. I guess it's like it's like almost sculpting with this kit. I'm just going to have to roll a little bit more out for the other hook, and then I'm going to do the bit around the main tow hook. And then I'll show you something else that needs to be applied to the hull prior to being painted. Well, I think anyway. It's almost like it's like a game that Armortek have come up with. You have to find the next part or the next part of the puzzle. But and basically there are two escape hatches which go on the underside of the hull, which I will show you. And then I mean, you'd need to do that, I think, before you paint it, because imagine how frustrating that would be to paint the hull and then realise that you've got these two raw aluminium components that have to be installed to the underside of the tank. So almost ready with that. There we go, long snake, and just doing exactly the same process, molding that round and just trim that off. Just use my hands just to get that into position, and then we'll put the little marks on there to mimic the weld. Bit of water behind that. Pretty smart. I can see why guys do this. I can see why. I mean, I really was, I wanted to do this on the Tiger, but I was really nervous, and because I wasn't sure. I just need a bit of water behind that. A little bit of water will allow that to stick, a bit better adhesion to the aluminium. But yeah, as I said, I mean, I didn't want to do anything like this on the tank. the Tiger, because I wasn't sure whether I may have to at some point actually undo bolts and fixings if I'd made a mistake, or if I had to do some tightening up or whatever. But and actually I'm pleased how the Tiger looks. It's kind of it is what it is now. I'm not going to go back and do any more work on it. And that, yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So that's the welds done for both of the tow hooks, and what I can do is I can put those back in and put the split pin back in that now that they're done. And I'm going to go on now and do the welds around the main tow hook here. Just needs a bit of tidying up that. I think that'll look, yeah. You can see why the advanced modelers do this, actually. I really can, because it does add a lot of detail into the tank. Gives it, so I'm doing this for the very first time, so please forgive me if you're a model expert and you've been doing this for a long time. This is all new to me, but I'm having a go. I'm going to do these now. Just roll that out, and then I'm hoping I can start the painting. It's like every time I come to start or think about the painting, something else comes up, and I think, oh no, I should do that first, and while I'm doing that I really should do this, and maybe I should do that. But I think once I've got this done and I put the 2 escape hatches on, I think we're good. Now I'm going to do this a little bit thicker, because it's got quite a big gap to cover. So I'm going to go on there. I'm going to drop that in and around, and then that's going to go underneath there. So is that, and then I'm going to cut that off. And that's it. Now we're just going to do the same. Just going to put a bit of water on that. Just trying to mimic that detail, that welding detail. I know you can probably use all sorts of tools to get this, and again I think some of this is really personal preference. It's your model. You should be able to do what you want with it, really. But some of the comments I had on building the Tiger made me think, you know what, I should have done that, and maybe should have done that, but I won't go over that again. But the bottom line is that I'm really happy I'm doing this now. And as I said, I want to step up this build. We're almost done, and I'm really pleased how that's looking. And once that's painted, I think that's going to look super. And I think I'm going to leave this overnight to dry. Just do a little bit more of that. And I was going to do around here, but I don't think it actually I've looked at my reference book and there's no welds around that. That's actually a bolted on piece on the real tank. So once I've got this tow hook done, I think we're good. I'll tell you what, the other thing, just talking about cutting back the front hull there, I'm so relieved that the guys pointed it out to me, that are ahead of me on this build, because I said when I was cutting it away, I can just imagine if I'd have gone ahead and painted it and then found out that I had to do that and then destroy the paintwork, I'd have been I'd have been upset is one way of saying it. There's other words that could probably describe it more appropriate, but I'm not allowed to use that kind of description. Anyway, we're almost there. So just do the same. I'm going to pop that. I hope this is interesting. And I know I do go on a bit, and I hope I'm not boring you, but it does, again, just from a complete novice's point of view of how I'm going about doing this. So if there's some of you out there that's never done this like myself, and this is helping you, give you some confidence, then I've done my job. I'm just going to pop that, make sure that's on. That's it, and now we can go and work the tool. Just using a bit of water there as well. Yeah, almost done. Well, there you go. It's like a lot of these things, isn't it? I mean, until you have a go at doing it, you always think it's like really complex and difficult, but actually it's like anything. As long as you take your time, you're not rushing it, and you're being very careful, then I don't see why you wouldn't do it. So here we go, I've learnt my lesson. You learn something new every day, and now I'm hoping I can use a bit more of this, just so that this, again, like I said, this Pershing tank is going to be a step up from what I did on the Tiger, hopefully. Yeah, that's it. I'm really pleased with that, really pleased. Right, so I'm not going to do any more welding on this. I'm going to put the pins back in here, and then I'm just going to show you the two escape hatches, and then we'll be done for today, and we'll finish off a quick note to camera. So I'll just reset this. In fact, what I will do is I'm going to spin this around because I can. This motorcycle jack is amazing, and it just makes life so much easier when you're working on something like this, to be able to do this. I mean, look at that. So now I'm back at the front of the tank, and what you can't see is underneath here, both sides, is a circle that's been machined out. And I was looking at that when I was putting together. I'm thinking, what is that for? And it turns out it's for these. So there are two emergency escape hatches. Now, what I'm saying is that if you paint this, well, you paint the underside first, and you've done all that, and then you come down to, let's see if I can find it now, but some way back in the back of the instructions, this. There we go, on page 19B, underside of glasses plate, and there they are. I'll show you. So there they are, just there and there. So you're on page 19B, way beyond, you know, the sort of the parts of the build that you've completed already. I mean, this is all fine. This is all this part here will be all part of the painting process on the top of the tank, so I'm not bothered about that. It's just the bit that needs to be done on the bottom of the tank. So, you know, I just don't want to be painting this and then find that I should have put these on, and then find I should have painted those, and that means I've just got to paint it separately. So I don't see any reason why I don't put these on now. So that's what we'll do. I'll just take these gloves off. Sure if there's a right way or a wrong way. Let's have a look on the instructions. Yeah, so it looks like it goes in with this ridge here on show, and it literally just goes into that position there. Or is it that way? No, it's the other way, I think. So it's this ridge here, sorry, goes inside. Yeah, that's what it looks like actually. So that's what it is. So the ridge here sits underneath here. So we'll go and get the appropriate fixing. So there's an M420 countersunk fixing for this, and that goes up. Yeah, look, that's the countersunk side. Stupid Tony, I should have realised. But anyway, that's the countersunk side. So that is the right way to put in. Offer that through the hole. That sits there nice. I can now see it. I'll put a bit of thread locker on that. That's why I think it's important to study and scan the instructions as often as possible. A bit awkward, but got it now. Let's have a look. What's the right one? Not that one. It's that one. Yeah. Just hold that. Sorry, big old bald head in the way. That's it. And the next one. Pop that through there. This time I'll put the thread locker right before I put it in. And then that goes up underneath. And that's it. So I'm glad I've put these in. Wouldn't want to be doing this after I painted it. So that's that. So that's it for today. I'll just do a final piece to camera, and I'll be back in a moment. So that's it for today. I hope that was interesting. Not much progress on the build, I'm afraid, on the tank, but as you can see, or as I showed you, there's a bit of problem solving. And if you are building one of these, you're going to need to understand, if you've got one of these particular kits, these early issue kits, they may have resolved it by the time they ship them again, but you need to be aware of what you're going to need to do. And it seems that most of the builders on the Armortek forum are experiencing the same problem. So just to recap, we just cut and ground out the two side pieces, left and right of the front of the tank, to provide the correct positioning for the mudguards. And then, because I was sort of looking through the instructions again, I'd missed it originally, but we also put the two escape hatches in on the underside of the hull, which means that they now can be painted as part of the hull painting. And then I had a go at welding. First time I've ever done anything like that. I'm pleased with how it came out, and if that's helped you, you know, if you've never done it before, if I've helped to sort of encourage you to do it, that's great. If you're an expert in it, and you know, please don't judge me, because it's my very first time, but I'm pleased with the results, and I'm pretty sure when it's all painted it'll look amazing. So that's me for today. Next time it will be painting. Now I may not paint or film the painting, because, as I said before, I'm concerned about the micro sort of dust particles getting onto the camera lens. But what I will do is I'll just take a whole series of photographs through the progression of the prepping and the painting, and then I'll put that on my next video. So until I see you again, thanks for watching. If you like this, thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you are following me still, I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you soon. Thank you.